Hey, how's it going? It's Sean Bradshaw from cyberfret.com, and in this lesson we're going to take a look at some basic open position major scales. Now when I say open position, I'm talking about staying within the first four frets and also using some open strings. And specifically, we're going to take a look at the key of C, G, D, A, and E. And those five keys are sometimes referred to as the guitar keys. It's what you find very often guitar music is written in those different keys. Now, obviously, not every song is written in a major key, but what happens is those same set of notes end up being related minor keys or modes, and I'm not going to go into all kinds of theory here. Just know that we're going to be talking specifically about the major scale, and later on, when you know a little bit more theory, you'll understand that those same set of notes can be other modes and minor scales. So we're going to start out our little major scale journey here by taking a look at the key of C. Now, if I start on the lowest C note on the guitar, which in standard tuning is right here at the 3rd fret on the 5th string, and I go from this C on up to this C, no sharps, no flats, that is a C major scale. Now, when we're talking about scales on the guitar, we're often not talking about textbook that I always have to go from C to C. Because when I do that, I'm kind of leaving out some notes that could be on the 6th string and could be on the 1st string here. And so the next way that I'm going to play this scale, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on C. I'm going to work my way down to the lowest note I can play that's in that key, and then work my way all the way to the highest note, and then just come back down and end on C. And so what I'm doing in this case is playing the entire range of available notes that are in the key of C here. I'm still starting on C and I'm ending on C, but I'm not leaving out some of the low and the high notes. And so that's how we're going to be kind of approaching all of these scales, is we're not going to limit ourselves to just going from the root to the root. The root is the primary note of the scale. Instead, we're going to be playing the full range of possibilities of that key. So key of C, no sharps, no flats. It is good to get to know the names of the notes, and on the page where this lesson is on cyberfret.com, as well as the tablature for these scales, I am also going to put the names of the notes, and it's good to get to know the names of the notes on the neck of the guitar. So, but I'm going to just go ahead and play this scale again slowly, starting on C, going down to the lowest note on the guitar in the key of C, which is E, going all the way up to G on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, and then finally ending on C on that 5th fret of the 5th string. Now you most certainly could start on C, work your way up, and then back down, and all the way down to the E. But this is kind of a good starting point, and the way that I'm going to be having all these scales written out is starting on the lowest note possible, working to the lowest note, or the lowest root possible, C in this case, working down to the lowest note in the key, working back up to the highest note in the 1st position, open position, and then ending finally on that lowest root. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at a G major scale. And in the key of G, we have an F sharp. So while the key of C had no sharps or flats, the key of G has one sharp, and that is going to be F sharp. So now, all we have to do is everywhere that I was playing that C major scale, if I just raise the F to an F sharp, I'm going to have the notes in the key of G. But specifically, I'm going to start on G, work my way down, work my way back up, and then finally end on G, just like I did for that C major scale. So we had to get some pinky action in there with the F sharp that's on the 4th fret of the 4th string, and then we also had an F sharp on the 2nd fret of the 6th string, and then an F sharp on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. Next up is the key of D, and in the key of D we have two sharps. We're going to have an F sharp and a C sharp. So this one, we're going to be starting on the open 4th string, working our way down, all the way up, and then finally ending on that 4th string open again. And for this one, I'm going to give you a couple of different fingerings. And I'm going to be starting out by keeping in this kind of first position where I'm going to be using my 2nd finger on the 2nd fret and my pinky on the 4th fret and my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret. It ends up, there are no first fingers because there's no notes in that 1st fret that we're going to be using. So the next finger we're going to take a look at is actually in the 2nd position where we shift up. But first taking a look at D major in sticking in the 1st position. So very often, if you're playing a scale and your first finger is not involved, that means that probably it might be a good thing to shift up and switch positions. And so in this case, the other fingering is moving up into 2nd position. I still have those open strings, but I'm calling it 2nd position because I'm shifting up. My 1st finger is going to be playing the notes on the 2nd fret, and my 2nd finger is going to be playing the notes on the 3rd fret, and my 3rd finger is going to be playing the notes on the 4th fret. Which fingering you use for this really depends on the situation. So I'm showing you both of these because out in the real world, with different melodies, different bass runs and things, it just depends on the situation which fingering you might use. Next up is the key of A. And for the key of A, we have three sharps. We have an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp. Now for the key of A, I'm going to show you one more kind of fingering for this, and that is where I'm going to kind of move up to that second position like I did for the key of D. But what ends up happening is I have to kind of shift back for one note on the third string at the first fret. And so what I'm going to be doing is playing two different notes with the same finger. And it's a little bit awkward, but what happens is that most of the notes kind of stay in that one position. We just have to jump out for that one. And the reason why I'm kind of showing you this little, variation on the fingering is because, it's often used where you need to know where those notes are and get the feel of them with these fingers, again, for different bass runs. And while that other one works just fine, it's good to have this alternate fingering as well. We're also going to get another note in here. We're going to get a high A here at the 5th fret on the first string, because once we move into that second position, I can easily grab that extra higher A note that I didn't grab before when I was kind of staying in that first position. All right, and one more guitar key to go, and that is the key of E. And in the key of E, we have 4 sharps. We have an F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and then D sharp. This time, because E is the lowest note on the guitar, I actually start with that low E and just work my way up. There is no working my way back down like the other 4 keys. Now there's one more fingering I'm going to show you, and this one, kind of like the A, where I'm going to shift back for a moment with my first finger, and my first finger is going to have double duty on the first fret and the second fret. In the key of E, this is actually going to happen on 2 strings, so this is even a little bit more awkward than the other, but I think it's a good one to kind of go through because sometimes you do want to grab those notes, especially on the lower strings in the key of E, with your first and third fingers versus using your second and fourth fingers for different bass runs. All right, so get those 5 fingerings. Actually, there would be 7 because we had a couple of alternate fingerings. Nope, make that 8. Where we shifted up into that second position for the keys of D, A, and E. But get those different fingerings underneath your fingers. But a good thing for you to do is actually name the notes as you're playing them. So, if you're playing in the key of C, C, B, A, G, F. Just name the notes as you go, and it's going to help you kind of get a better grasp of what the names of the notes are on the neck and understanding these keys a little bit better. Because at the first part of each new key, I said G has an F sharp, D has an F sharp and a C sharp, A has an F sharp, C sharp, and a G sharp, and an E has an F sharp, a C sharp, a G sharp, and a D sharp. And you want to get to know that for these keys. You know, learning some music theory is a whole other area to take a look at, but at least get to know what notes are in these guitar keys. All right, have fun with this, and have a good one.